Was there just the emergency?
No problem. All units are by
I'm at the corner of Pleasant Hill and John Young Freeway.
1519
Welcome back, everyone, to another intense episode of Crime Solvers Central, where we dive deep into the darkest corners of criminal history and unsolved mysteries. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Jayce. Today's case? It's one of the most disturbing serial killer profiles you might ever hear. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. He's known as the Times Square Ripper, the Torso Killer. His real name is Richard Cottingham.
That name still gives me chills. A man who led a double life. Family man by day, sadistic murderer by night. His crimes span from the late 1960s all the way into the early 80s, but confessions have been coming in as recently as the 2020s.
Let's start with the basics. Richard Francis Cottingham was born in 1946 in the Bronx. He moved to New Jersey when he was young and lived a pretty typical life on the surface. Cross-country team in high school, worked in IT as a computer operator, got married, had kids.
And yet, beneath all that, he harbored violent fantasies rooted in domination and bondage. His obsession escalated from sexual deviance into full-on torture and murder.
Cottingham's known confirmed crimes include 6 murders in New York, 12 in New Jersey, and possibly up to 100 more. The FBI and local investigators are still trying to unravel his web of confessions, non-prosecution agreements, and cold cases he's now tied to.
One of the most grotesque discoveries came in 1979. Firefighters responded to smoke at the Travel Inn near Times Square. Inside, 2 women, both beheaded, both handless. The killer had tried to burn them. One was later identified as Dita Godarsi. The other remains unidentified to this day, known only as Manhattan Jane Doe.
His victim profile was shockingly consistent. Young women, often sex workers or vulnerable teens. He drugged them, tortured them, and killed them by strangulation or asphyxiation, then mutilated them, biting, burning, cutting.
And he also took trophies, personal items he kept hidden in a locked room in the house he shared with his wife and kids.
We can't cover every victim in this episode, but let's highlight a few. Maryann Carr, a nurse, raped and strangled in 1977. Valerie Ann Street, killed in 1980 at the same Quality Inn where he was arrested just weeks later. Maryann Jean Reyner, whose breasts were severed and placed on a headboard. That crime scene was lit on fire, too.
He even targeted children. In his later confessions, Cottingham admitted to murdering 13-year-old Jacqueline Harp in Midland Park, New Jersey, 15-year-old Denise Balaska in Gloucester, New Jersey, and 16-year-old Lorraine Kelly from North Bergen, New Jersey. The cruelty escalated as he honed his methods.
But there's one connection we want to spotlight. Jennifer Weiss, the daughter of victim Dita Godarsi. She grew up not knowing who murdered her mother, but rather than walk away from the horror, she confronted it head on.
Incredibly, she started visiting Cottingham in prison, trying to unlock the truth of her mother's death and those of his other victims. Alongside Detective Robert Anslotti and true crime author Peter Vronsky, she helped extract multiple confessions from Cottingham.
It's powerful. She turned her trauma into advocacy. Jennifer Weiss now helps other families of victims get closure and works closely with law enforcement to connect the dots between Cottingham's crimes.
Coming up, we'll be discussing theories, confessions, and possible motives behind his sadistic crimes.
After surviving cancer in 2016, Jennifer Weiss found the courage to write to Cottingham, and that was followed by in-person visits.
On Mother's Day, I went and he apologized again. to me.
Weiss told us there's a reason she was photographed looking chummy with Cottingham.
And I make him feel comfortable so that he can confess to me.
Cottingham pleaded guilty last year to the 1970.
So, Jayce, let's go into the psychology behind Cottingham. What makes a man who has a family, a job, and a seemingly normal life become a monster at night?
That duality is exactly what's so chilling. Cottingham described murder as a game. He said it gave him a godlike feeling, complete control over someone's fate. He didn't kill out of rage or impulse. He hunted, planned, and played with his victims like they were toys.
It's disturbing to think how many of his early crimes were dismissed or ignored, arrested for shoplifting, DUI, and even sex crimes, but the victims didn't press charges, and the system failed to connect the dots.
That failure allowed him to keep evolving, from assaults to sadism to murder. And let's not forget, he was working at the same company as another serial killer, Rodney Alcala. Coincidence? Probably, but still deeply unsettling.
There's been speculation that Cottingham may have not acted alone, at least in some murders. In that infamous Times Square case, there were 2 victims, dismembered, burned, and no one at the hotel saw anyone suspicious leave.
Right. Police at the time didn't rule out the possibility of a second man, but Cottingham has never named an accomplice. He claims complete responsibility for dozens of murders and insists he acted alone. He wants credit.
Then there's his claim of committing over 100 murders. Some investigators take it with a grain of salt, but we've seen at least 20 confirmed or confessed to, and that number keeps climbing thanks to the prison conversations with Jennifer Weiss and Detective Anslotti.
And every confession means something. It means closure for a family, a name for a Jane Doe, a long cold case marked solved. Theories aside, Cottingham clearly enjoyed the power that came with revealing and withholding the truth.
Let's talk about the heroes in this story, because there are some. Jennifer Weiss, as we mentioned earlier, is absolutely one of them.
Absolutely. She faced the man who took her mother's life, not with revenge, but with resolve. She asked the questions police couldn't, earned his trust in ways law enforcement never could. Her courage has led to multiple victim identifications and solved cold cases.
And Detective Robert Anslotti, he spent over a decade of playing a psychological game of his own. No threats, no intimidation, just pizza, poker, and patience. Eventually, Cottingham started talking, and Anslotti got real names, real dates, and real locations.
It's believed Cottingham killed up to 100 women between the early 1960s and 1980 when he was taken off the streets. Last year, he confessed to the cold case torture and murders of 2 New Jersey teens who were on their way to the Garden State Mall when Cottingham abducted them. Diane Cusick's daughter is grateful she finally got some answers.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who worked on this.
Now, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. We know how heavy this topic is, but it's people like you who keep these stories alive. Cottingham's story is not over.
There's still victims without names. There's still families out there with no answers. Cottingham has hinted at dozens more victims. The more attention we give this, the more pressure there is for authorities to pursue those cold leads.
If you have any information that could be relevant to any cold case tied to Richard Cottingham or any missing persons cases from the 1960s through the 1980s in the Northeast U.S., please reach out to your local authorities, the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, or submit tips directly to us at crimesolverscentral.com.
You can also reach us through our YouTube channel, Crime Solvers Central. Drop comments, share leads, or connect with other listeners trying to bring light to these long forgotten cases.
And if you knew one of the victims or have family ties to these cases, we'd love to hear your story if you're willing. We're not just a podcast, we're a platform for truth, justice, and remembrance.
We'll be back next week with another case, another set of questions, and another deep dive. Until then, I'm Charlie.
I'm Jayce. Remember, everyone stay safe, stay curious, and stay loud.